We're back to the continuation of the segment from a few minutes ago. If you missed any, catch it on the Morning X podcast. This is the best of the Morning X on 99X.
We're talking to Jerry Bruckheimer. Do you have a favorite movie of all time?
You know what? They're all favorites in different ways. There's always something that touches me that we've done. It's hard to pick one because you have so many talented people and all the others that, you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. But every one of them has a special place, and there's something, a big part of you in every picture, at least every picture I do.
Now, has there been one movie that you've seen more than once, twice, three times? I mean, any movie.
I've seen them all over 100 times, but you know what? Once I finish them and once they're out in the theaters, I don't look at them again because what happens is I can't change them, and I see the mistakes, the things that we should have fixed and didn't fix. So it's too depressing for me to watch something I can't change.
Well, what about like favorite movies of all time that are not Jerry Bruckheimer movies?
There are like 3 or 4.
I'm a big fan of David Lean, and he's one of the reasons I'm doing what I'm doing. I love Bridge on the River Kwai and Lawrence of Arabia. I also love The Great Escape and Raging Bull and The Godfather. So those are the kind of pictures that I look forward to seeing.
Have you, because your movies are obviously big budget, I mean, some bigger than others, give us an example of something that maybe a director wanted to do that you said, no, I am not writing a check for us to do that.
Well, I remember we were doing Top Gun, and the director, we had a crash where Tom and his co-pilot crashed and went in the ocean. And the director, we had them both on a raft. The director wanted the plane wreckage. He wanted the tail of the plane sticking up in the ocean. And in order to do that, water is the hardest thing to work on. So I worked it out with Tony, who was the director. I said, we can't have a tail back there. You'll be out there all day when you had half a day to shoot it. And we figured out to put a little smoke raft out there rather than the tail of the plane. It worked out fine. So those are the kind of things you have to deal with on a daily basis.
And you worked with Val Kilmer, of course, on Top Gun. I will tell you, we've had more than a director or a producer or two come in with Val Kilmer stories.
Everyone.
John Frankenheimer was very candid.
Right.
Did you get Val before he was an attitude problem?
He was great.
He was back
young.
then?
They were all young actors.
Right.
None of them had really had any enormous success other than Tom, had risky business. But they were all kids on the come, and they were all looking just to be as good as they possibly could be.
Who's the biggest star with the least amount of ego that you've worked with?
I'm really fortunate. I don't think any of the young actors or actresses had that kind of big ego that you see. I mean, Will Smith is the sweetest guy. Tom Cruise is just driven to do well and make things better. He called me 4 a.m. when he had to get up at 6 for a scene to make it better. The really ones who make it to the top, there usually isn't a lot of attitude. You don't make it to the top in Hollywood unless there's something that you give back to the people you work with.
You probably
It's a very small town, and rumors about actors spread very quickly. And what happens is it might work, but they're not going to work with the top people in town. On and on of all the actors, we work with Gene Hackman, who's tough and demanding because he wants excellence also. Denzel Washington is just a prince of a man. The ones that really make it, they make it because they're great actors and great people.
Do you think that those attitudes maybe are because they're dealing with you, Jerry Bruckheimer? Because some of the people you've named there, I've heard differently about, just in circles and people talking. Maybe because it's not down to you don't have to deal with their handlers. You're dealing with Will Smith and Tom Cruise directly, and you are, one of the biggest filmmakers of our time, Jerry Bruckheimer. Maybe they're a little. It's almost like when you talk to someone's parents. When you go to meet the parents for the first time, you're very nice because you don't bite the hand that feeds you.
You know what? I could tell you that most of these actors, and I think almost all of them, if you treat them right, they're great. It's like anything else. If you don't treat people well, you're going to have a harder time with them. I don't care if they're Tom Cruise or an actor you never heard of.
Right.
If you treat people with respect, they're going to be good to you.
Right now, at this stage of your career, it's probably easier to get things pushed through the studio and fight for various things in movies. What was the last thing that you really had to fight for against the studio to get in a movie that maybe you won, maybe you lost?
Remember the Titans. It was very difficult to get made. Everybody in Hollywood turned it down. Even the people at Touchstone turned it down. It was Joe Roth, who was the chairman of Disney at the time, and Peter Schneider, who really stepped up and said, this is something we really should make. But prior to that, every major studio in town turned it down. And don't forget, Denzel and I were both attached. So they all think they know more than you.
Right, and now you've got studio heads that have probably been in the business a decade less than you have who are making these decisions.
That's true, but you know what it is? they change, but we're a constant. We keep coming back with hopefully good movies.
But Jerry Bruckheimer was that guy. I mean, you were doing heavy stuff late 20s. I mean, you were a big decision guy. I mean, the power just kind of revolves around, I guess.
You know, it really does. I mean, the studio heads, and they're all very smart. They're good businessmen, and they have good creative taste. But sometimes it doesn't always match up with mine, and that's just the way it is.
Well, thank you very much for your time, and also thanks for the opportunity, because I did get to work on your movie, and I had a great time. And I thought that one of the guys who's an unknown actor now will be doing a lot of things, and that's Kip Pardue. Yeah,
Kip's an interesting story. Kip is the only actor we had in the movie who actually played football. He played quarterback at Yale. The rest of the kids, some of them never picked up a ball before, so we went through a training camp with all the kids.
How much decision-making and how hard was it for you to finally come to the decision to cut my partner Barnes from the movie? What were the meetings like?
It was a big mistake, and we'll try to put it in the DVD.
Yeah, put that in the very tail of the DVD.
In the director's cut, right?
We're definitely going to try to do that.
Yeah, or was that one of those scenes that the studio demanded that it be taken out? And, you had to really fight for it.
Hey, come on!
No, the studio had nothing to do with it. We made that mistake on our own.
Mm-hmm. I keep getting asked, which one are you? I'm Sunshine. Yeah, right. I'm Sunshine, because my name is still in the credits, which is weird, and you get the axe. But it was so weird how that scene. It's a restaurant scene where the guys come in and try to eat, and then they end up kicking them out. But in the scene we shot, they stayed and ate. And so I guess it just took a different. They totally.
No, it's an added scene. It's a scene that we had later in the picture where they go back in there and they do sit down and eat.
Oh, that was the added.
It was a good scene, but for whatever reason, it went on the cutting room floor. But I hope to put it back in.
Well, Jerry, thank you for your time.
Sure, it's a pleasure being with you. Thank you.
Jerry Bruckheimer from Paris on the Morning X.